and you're thinking, why hasn't this happened? Or why can somebody else achieve this, but I can't? I would ask them and you one question. Are you doing everything you can to make it happen?
Welcome back to another episode of the Shared Practices podcast. I have with me here today my co-host, Dr. Jonas Ashbaugh, and I'm really excited for today's episode because I always feel like we sometimes, leave behind our specialist audience. We have a lot of residents who listen to our podcast, and in today's episode, my co-host is going to interview an orthodontist who did a startup, and I think there's a lot of lessons for both a GP and a specialist, and so I was very happy that we were able to get this episode lined up. So Jonas, why don't you go ahead and tell us about today's guest?
Yeah. Today's guest is Dr. Nicole Wax. She's an orthodontist practicing in Michigan, and this is a good one. I mean, she is really motivating, and I mean, it really comes through in the way she speaks, and the way she kind of stumbled in her startup is an awesome story. And then the way that she has just excelled and taken off is just another level that I don't see a lot. And it just takes a lot of determination to get where she's got. And she's kind of done it all organically. You know, she hasn't really had a lot of mentors. She's just figured it out, and she's done awesome. And I really love her story. I really love following her, and I'm fired up. Like after doing this podcast, I was fired up after I got done talking to her.
All right. Well, I think that's I'm just going to leave it right there, man. Drop mic. Let's go into the interview.
Welcome to Shared Practices podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jonas Ashbaugh. Today's guest is a special one. We have a orthodontist, a specialist that herself did a startup. Her name is Dr. Nicole Wax. She's located out of Michigan. She was a 2012 graduate of The Ohio State, and then a graduate of the orthodontic program out of the University of Detroit. And then coincidentally, she did her startup the same year she graduated, 2014. So she's one ambitious orthodontist, and I think she brings a lot of unique perspective and circumstances to what it takes for a specialist to do a startup, because it's so much different than what a GP would go through. Wouldn't you agree, Nicole?
Well, you know, I don't have the perspective of a general practice startup, but I'm certainly happy to share my experience with starting an orthodontic office.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I want to dive into. And, I want to first start off by asking, you're definitely, one of the more motivated individuals I knew as we graduated dental school together. And I think you always knew that you wanted to be in ownership. When you say that?
Yeah, I did. Well, no, actually, I didn't know I was going to start up a practice. I knew I wanted to be an orthodontist. And when we were in dental school together, that was really my only focus, was get the grades, get into an orthodontic residency program. So I really wasn't thinking about what kind of structure I wanted in a practice, because my goal at that point was just, first become an orthodontist. But if you would have asked me, I probably would have said, yeah, eventually I want to own. But I had no idea, and I'll kind of tell you the story about that, but I had no idea I was going to start up from scratch right out of school. I was kind of
you kind of fell into
forced into that. I kind of fell into it, and it was like the best forced decision that, was ever on me.
Wow. So how'd that come about? Like, were you looking at other practices? Were you going to go in with somebody? What was?
Yeah. Well, when I was in residency, usually, or what I was told is, within 6 months of graduating or finishing school, that's when you're really going to start putting your feelers out and figuring out where you want to practice. I don't always do everything by the book. So I kind of flipped that, and 6 months into residency, so I had a year and a half to go, I started reaching out all over Michigan. I knew I wanted to stay in Michigan. That was my hometown, or my home state. So I started kind of just putting my feelers out everywhere, and I got introduced to a lot of different orthodontists. And we kind of went through a little bit of the negotiation process. And honestly, that was a really good learning experience, because I met a lot of orthodontists that I wouldn't have met if I was so laser focused on where I wanted to practice. So developed some different relationships, and eventually met an orthodontist in northern Michigan, kind of Traverse City area, and he wanted to retire, and very smart guy. He, has a lot of published papers and respected in the field. And so we got pretty far in our, relationship of maybe me taking over his practice, but
did you go as far as getting like a broker involved, or was it just still like discussion at that point?
I kind of had, I forget the company, but I did have a broker the whole time because I'd ask them questions and I evaluated all of his numbers, and he sent me over, you sign a non-disclosure and they'll send you over all their information, because really that's part of the early talk. Like, how do you know, other than the relationship you have with that person, how do you know that's a practice that's, viable for you?
Absolutely.
But what I was feeling like something wasn't right. And I had decided, you know what, I don't want to be away from my family anymore. And that would have been like a 4-hour drive. So I made the decision, I want to go back home. I do want to be very close to my family. And when I made that decision, then I started to call everyone within a half an hour radius of my hometown to see, who might hire me. Again, I didn't need to own right away. I knew myself, and that eventual ownership was important to me, whether in a partnership setting or, sole owner. And I was always very, upfront about that, but I also wasn't so rigid that it had to be, right away or whatever. Like it could be a partnership or, a variety of different situations. But no one really was looking to either bring me in full time or ready to make the decision of, I think eventually I would bring you in as a partner. So
a lot of cold feet.
I ended up, they just, they weren't ready in their career, at least in my area for that. So I said, okay, that's fine. And again, I was very open and honest about this too. Like, if I don't find somewhere to work, I will open up my own practice. So I ended up doing that in my really, really tiny hometown of Linden, population 4,000. And I worked at 2 other offices at the same time. So I did find, a day here and a day there.
Like kind of like an itinerant orthodontist, like you'd go in there and do like, and see the orthodontic patients, or were we working as a GP?
So actually I have both situations.
Okay.
So, well, kind of to rewind again,
sure.
Probably at about 6 months from being done with residency, I had already talked to everyone, and I figured out in my heart and what was important to me that, all right, I'm going home. I'm starting to practice. So that gave me a good, 6 months or so to start working on that. I visited my hometown. I found a space. I was working on the build out, all of that while finishing residency. But at the same time, I knew I needed an income when I finished school to pay back all my student loans and whatnot. So I also, I got like a day a week at an orthodontic office, a half an hour from where I live. And then I was also the second office I was working at was a general dentist. And he had all the specialties in his office. So the orthodontic clinic was run by an orthodontist, which ended up being me for a while. And we saw patients, on certain days of the week. And then they also had a periodontist come in and they ran the perio, appointments.
Yeah. Well, I think what you touched on is like the really, the motivation for a startup, sometimes it's out of circumstance, it's like this is where I want to be, I'm dead set. Like, this is the area of the country I need to be in, and there's no opportunity here. I just need to make this work, and it's going to be really hard, but this is what I want, because, it's a lot of work, it's nothing to shake a stick at. It is a lot of work to put this together, to go through all the steps that wear all the hats that you did. And, you got to have that motivation to do it. So there's no better motivation than being close and being close to your family and getting what you want. I think that is like the calling for a lot of people out there that are doing startups these days.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Jonas. And you don't have to know exactly what you want. I think you should try to figure it out as close as you can. Like I knew eventually I wanted to own, but I wasn't so rigid that I needed to buy a practice right away or I needed to start up. But then circumstances kind of led me to, okay, well, I guess that means I do have to start up. And then once I knew that, then I could just totally laser focus on that goal of making this successful. Because for any listeners that may be considering starting a practice or even purchasing an existing practice and turning it into your own, because really that's a sort of startup in my book, if you're going to really make it your own, is knowing what your challenges are, because certainly there will be challenges, knowing what they are and having a game plan to, overcome those obstacles. So I'm going to share a story because this is helpful really to anyone thinking about a startup or, taking over another practice. There were so many obstacles for my startup. Again, it was in my hometown of like 4,000 people. So, kind of rural area. And then in the less rural towns or cities around me, there were orthodontists there. So,
was there not one in Linden at the time for those 4,000 people?
Not one in Linden, no.
That's amazing.
Which really makes perfect sense because it's too small for an orthodontist. I mean, I did demographic studies, so I wanted to know what my challenges were.
Do you happen to know?
It didn't deter me.
Do you happen to know what the orthodontist population ratio, what an ideal is? It based on population or is it based on GPs in the area? How do you get that feeling of this is an unsaturated area for a specialist?
Yeah. So I've tried to find that report to review what was on there, but from the top of I can't find it right now, but from the top of my head, things that were on there were population, median, household income, surrounding orthodontists. So they don't really look at the general dentist. They look at what, so-called competition is around, which I actually don't like that word. I think we're all just colleagues working in, the same area.
That's very nice of you.
Yeah. Honestly, you do you and don't worry about anyone else.
Right.
We got enough to worry about with what we want to accomplish versus what other people are doing.
You're absolutely right.
But anyways, so population, obviously there was a big red X, not a good idea. When looking at surrounding orthodontic offices, again, there were too many to support that area. So it said, stay away. Even, the median household income, that didn't look great for the normal standards. So everything, I don't think there was a green circle on that demographic study. I don't regret doing it, the $200 or whatever I spent when I was in school still.
For sure.
Because it just told me okay, well, this isn't going to be easy. We have lots of obstacles. But if I didn't know that those challenges weren't top of my mind, I wouldn't have been so focused on solutions and overcoming those. So that's what I think is so important. Whether you buy a practice or start a practice, knowing, okay, what obstacles, literally write down on a piece of paper or Google Sheet or something, what are all the challenges I'm going to have? What are all the, problems? And then bust out a bunch of solutions and really see them through. So marketing, mainly marketing, that was my focus in the beginning. Okay, well, I better get out there a lot so that I can, so for the few people that do live in this town, they know I'm here and they know they should come see me.
Well, yeah, I think that's exactly right. Marketing is the best money that you will spend. Outside of your location, but you got to spend money to bring people in, especially for a startup. It's your lifeblood. It's how you get to know people. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk to you, because I think that you did some really outside the box marketing. When you say you did a lot of grassroots marketing, ground marketing to really get your name out there.
Yeah. So what did I do? Well, first of all, coming off of, student type lifestyle, any money I did bring in, I still lived in an apartment. I still drove my crappy car that I had all through school. So all the money I did bring in went right back to the practice, and typically or mostly that was in the sense of marketing. So, okay. So what did I do? I joined my local chambers. Okay. So, Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Now here's the thing with that. and this, we also have a motto, like maximize every marketing thing you do. So don't just join your chamber, because if you just join your chamber, it's not going to do much. Like you get what you put out, and just paying your dues isn't really doing enough. So so we go to like the month, it's once a month, like networking lunches, and we are there every single time. Because the more you go, the more people are going to remember you and know you, and trust you. So, and if they know you and trust you, then they're more likely to choose you over the next option that they have.
So what is your goal? Is it are you marketing to the individuals physically at the Chamber of Commerce? Are you marketing to the businesses that these other business owners own? Is that what you're going for when you're going to these events?
It's really both.
Yeah.
It's really both. It's the general public, but it's also the other local businesses. And I think that's often a missed opportunity. Like, you should know your neighboring businesses, and you should form a relationship with them. I mean, specialists, we try to spoil our dentists because, just like a consumer has options of where they want to do business with, a dentist has options of where they want to refer. And I never expected our general dentist to completely change their referral patterns. I know they have relationships with other people, and that's fine, but I just wanted to be an option, or at least I wanted them to know about me. But that's true with local businesses too. So we'll drop off goodies at the local businesses, so they just get to know us and say, hey, we're different, and we like to make people smile, and here are some goodies just because we feel like it. So the chamber is more your relationships with the local. I mean, it's all business, the local businesses and their representatives. So it's more of networking with them. That's really what the chamber is about. So that's a once a month thing. And I mean, you have lunch, you just have conversation. You're not trying to sell anything. You're just literally getting to know them and building that relationship.
I think that's great advice. That's great advice. What kind of goodie bags do you give out? Is there anything unique that you do to spoil your dentist?
My dentist?
Kind of win them over? Yeah. I can't say that I've never turned away a goodie bag. I mean,
right? Yeah, you should tell me what you like, because I'm just trying to guess over here. But I
never get it. I never get these things. They go straight to the back, and I'll see them like a day or two later. So I don't even know.
That's funny. We should put a note, like, or make it separate. There you go. See, that was good advice. Like doctor only, and then have a staff one. We try to mix it up because I get bored easy. So I just assume everyone else around me is getting bored too. So we don't like to deliver the same thing every time. Our recent ideas that we had were like margarita baskets, because what staff isn't going to be excited about, a bunch of makings for margaritas.
You're absolutely right.
We've done donut bouquets. So, yes, they're donuts, but we make it really fun and look interesting. We recently made up a bunch of like snack bags. So it's a bunch of different like healthy snacks. Cause I hate getting like chocolates, and cause sometimes like oral surgeons and reps will like give us goodies or whatever. And it's always chocolate and junk food. So, and although we all enjoy it, we kind of feel guilty eating it. So I try to incorporate some more healthy options, maybe energy bars or things like that.
Now, are you doing these marketing efforts yourself, or do you hire a full-time marketing manager for your practice?
So yeah, that's a good question. I personally love marketing. I never knew it. I never thought about marketing for even a second until I opened my practice, and it just it's exciting for me, and it seems to come like natural, different ideas and whatnot. So for the first few years, it was all me, and I would do everything myself. And then one of my girls, I said, do you want to like be my marketing director and help me with marketing? Because as I got busier and, our schedule was, filling up, I couldn't be at everything that I wanted to be at. We're part of 3 chambers. I'm on the board of directors for the chamber. And that's what I'm talking about, going above and beyond and maximizing everything you do. So we don't just join the chamber. We don't just go to lunches. I'm actually on the board of directors.
Your time is the most valuable thing that you can possibly give. So that's amazing.
It is. But honestly, I have to remind myself, no matter how busy I am, no matter how tired I am, I mean, this is why we're doing so well, because it's me out there. So I do sometimes have to kind of take a step back and be more appreciative than focusing on, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I don't want to go to this meeting. So, but anyways, at this point, like almost 3.5 years into my startup, we do have a marketing team, and it's made up of 1.5 employees. I say a half because one is part-time, and they now do my social media. They go to the chamber meetings when I can't. They do my dental deliveries, which I started out doing all my dental deliveries. I wanted those offices to see me and know me, and I wanted to meet them as well. So
it'd be amazing. I can't say I can't say that an orthodontist has ever stepped foot in my practice. But I've gotten goodie bags. But yeah, I mean, just like I said, your time is so valuable that it means so much more to be able to actually chat to the person that wants my potential referral.
Okay, don't worry. We're going to get to his advice in a second, but first, a quick word from our sponsor, Q Optics. Okay, I got to take something back that I said in the last ad. I said that your neck hurts because you're looking over the top of your loops more than your angle of declination. Really, it's all of it together. And the angle of declination really does matter. And in fact, I said if I want as much as possible, they said, okay, let's go with 50. You don't want to go with 60, that's too much. Let's do 50. And it's been awesome. It's been great. But now I want to look at, how do you diagnose if your loops aren't working for you? And for me, the biggest sign is if my neck and my upper mid back, kind of between my scapula and my spine, hurts. And you get these tight knots. They're called trigger points. And if you're right-handed and the right side of your back from the base of your skull down to your scapula to your upper shoulder hurts and is tight and has knots, it probably means you're bending over too much. You're craning too much. Something else that can help with your ergonomics, not only is magnification and loops in general going to help, but your working distance can push you back and up. It can retrain you. So getting a new pair of loops can also be an opportunity to learn how to sit better. If you push it out a few inches, your working distance, at first it's going to be a little unnatural. You're going to be kind of leaning in like you normally did, and then you realize, oh, I'm too close. But over time, you train and you adjust, and your muscles learn how to sit up straight. So this is an ideal time to correct some of your bad habits and take your ergonomics to the next level. For $100 off a pair of loops or $300 off loops and light combo, email sales@QOptics with the promo code SP16. Q Optics, your next favorite pair of loops.
I really think specialists almost need to take that. I think it's essential. I guess if I was in your shoes, and I'm trying to get these dentists to refer their, trust me with their patients. Like, you want to meet them. You want to put a face behind the name.
And again, you just gave me some good information. Yeah. Like maybe I should do another round. It's been a while, and maybe I should do another round.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just that kind of thinking that's going to set you apart. Like, do whatever it takes. Know the problem or the potential problem, and then overcome it. So maybe a potential problem is you're not getting enough referrals from your GPs. Well, maybe they need to know who you are. So how can they better get to know who you are? Maybe it's you going on the deliveries. Maybe it's, people are busy. They may not have time or want to go out to lunch or dinner with you. So again, that's a problem. Figure out a solution. I have a letter that's about to go out, and this is just another idea that might get your brain spinning, but I'm putting together a letter and I'm mailing it out to all the GPs in my area, just saying it is so easy to communicate, in this day and age. It doesn't have to be your office calling my front desk, waiting for me to get done with my patient. Like, here's my cell phone. Just text me if you have any questions about a patient. And it works both ways. We can just text each other. We can FaceTime. Like, it's so easy. So, but how many cell phones of your colleagues, in your area do you have?
How many? No, it's usually you hit the front desk and get a call returned to you. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. That is powerful.
I'd rather just shoot them a text. Like, we can both respond when we're in between patients.
Yeah. And I do like that. I like that you're not, putting yourself on this pedestal that, needs a bodyguard to be contacted. So I think that's an amazing advice there for any specialist trying to earn those referrals. I mean, that's just being friendly to communication, whether, it's for a potential referral or like complications or something like that. It'd be awesome to have that relationship with somebody in my area.
Well, and vice versa. I think the general dentist, I mean, we shouldn't assume what they're thinking, but some might be like, no, I'd rather you just call my front desk. Like, I don't want to deal with you, orthodontist. I'm over here working on my dentistry stuff. But at least those that are willing, I want to give them my cell phone and hope that and in my letter, it says like, text me and we'll go from there,
Yeah.
Text me your number.
Yeah. No, I think you have it right. I think that the old way of dentistry, like there's a little bit of a changing of the guard of like kind of being the older solo dentist kind of stuck in their ways and feeling that way to like this newer generation that's, they're putting themselves out there, and because we need to, because I guess there's a lot more dentists out there, but you got to make yourself known, and you got to be unique in the way that you present yourself. So I think that there's definitely some fantastic ideas. I really like that. I think that's super valuable too to let your referrals know that you're available. I want to ask you, how did you find your location then? So like 6 months out of you said 6 months prior to graduating, you were already starting your build out.
Yeah,
got that correctly. So how did you find your location? Was it like the visibility of it? Was it like central to where you want? Like, how did you come across that?
All right. So once I made the decision, I want to live at home. And my home is really Fenton. They're neighboring towns, Fenton, Linden. Fenton's a little bit bigger, maybe population 10 to 15,000. And so I said, okay, I'm going to be either in Fenton or Linden. So then I did a Google search. I'm like, well, there's already 2 orthodontists in Fenton. Like, I'll just go to Linden. It's, off the beaten path, but I went to Linden High School or, graduated from Linden schools, and that'll be cute. And I said, it's a small population. I saw the demographic studies. Like, that's okay. It'll be a small little practice.
It's a good
and
story,
I'll work
too.
elsewhere and maybe eventually buy another practice. So that didn't concern me. So once I had decided on Linden, just based on the area and where all the other orthodontists were, I drove there. I took a weekend or whatever, came home and drove around town. And I'm like, okay, there's one main intersection here. I want to be as close to this intersection as possible. I'm literally looking around, and there is one option. There was one option, and it was, this is interesting. So it was half of a building. So there's a restaurant and a realtor in the building. And then there was an empty space, about 1,000 square feet. And then there was a space next to that had not been touched or renovated since the early 1900s, like 1920s.
How large a space was that?
That was another 1,000 square feet. And I needed about 2,000. So my office is 2,000 square feet. So half of my office had been a white box, but no real business had been in there for several years. And then the other half of my office, when I walked in, it was the original barn floor, barn roof, and brick walls. No insulation, no plumbing, no electrical. I learned for the first time in my life, like how to work with a general contractor, and turn an unusable space into a usable space. And I did that when I was in residency. So pretty much I picked that spot because I knew I wanted to be in downtown Linden, and that was my only option.
Yeah.
So
did you purchase the spot? Is it leased space?
I leased this. I leased this space. Yeah. It was a 5-year lease. I did not know how to negotiate any of that when I was in school. So looking back and maybe making recommendations, definitely have a realtor that knows commercial, commercial leasing to help negotiate, because I'm just this nice little student. And I'm like, well, the only thing I had was, I don't know if I can afford that, so I didn't, and I put a lot of work into his building and kind of raised the value of his building. But honestly,
did you get like tenant improvements allowance or anything like that?
I didn't get TI dollars, tenant improvement allowance or anything like that. The only thing I got was a rent reduction. So I'm paying less rent than maybe somebody else.
Sure.
But it's not really that. It wasn't the best deal I could have gotten.
Well, I think that's valuable. You said our previous guest was a lease lawyer, Matt Lemaster. He kind of went over some of the pitfalls of going through these lease negotiations and what to look for. So, I mean, what you just said, I mean, it's seek counsel when needed, get these experts in their respective field. And sometimes it may be money up front, but it's money saved on the back end too.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, all these dental Facebook groups, these are all new. I wasn't aware of these when I was in school, or like this podcast, right? So coming out of school now, even though it's only, 4 years after I did or whatever, you could post that question. I didn't know anyone, so I wouldn't have known even who to use. But now you can post that question. Hey, who knows of somebody who can help me negotiate a lease?
Exactly. Yeah.
I will tell you something, Jonas, is I don't own that space. I'm at about 4 years, getting close to 4 years of my 5-year lease. And we've so outgrown our space. I mean, we've grown like crazy. And so one part of the story I didn't tell you is when I came to downtown Linden to say, what are my options? One of the 4 corners on the main intersection in our downtown is vacant, and it burnt down. The building there, the old Union Block, burnt down in 2009, and no one since has built on that property. And when I was in school, before I signed the lease to my space I have now, I talked to my bank, which is Bank of America, because they have a specific, it's called Practice Solutions. And they will lend to dentists, even though you don't have any really previous income. They will lend for a startup. But anyways, there was an empty corner. I said, ooh, I want to build on that corner. Like, talk about visibility. We know visibility is important. And luckily, they just kind of mentored me through it. And they're like, I think you should renovate a space, work there, build your client base, build your income, and then you can think about building on that corner. I said, okay, that makes sense.
One miracle at a time.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes I need people to level me out like that. I have these grand ideas, but, they remind me that you can't eat the whole elephant at the same time. Like it's bite by bite.
I mean, how successful you've been, though. I mean, it might have worked, it probably would have worked, like if you, just like, you're only limited by yourself, I guess. But I definitely probably agree. I would have done the exact same thing. That is a lot of risk, a lot of debt to take out initially. I'm sure you would have got it too.
What? Everything happens. If you have a plan, you know what your goals are, and you have a problems and solution list. So here's the thing. So the problem was, let's say I'm on a piece of paper. I mean, I didn't really write this down, but I knew what it was. Problem, I can't afford that corner because I'm a startup. Solution, bust your butt, build your practice, save money, buy corners.
Yep.
So seriously.
I like it.
And a year and a half into my practice, I bought the corner.
Awesome.
I own the corner, and in the next probably 6 months, I'm going to be building a 2-story building that will house my new office and some other businesses. So if you don't know your goals and you don't know like where you want to go and kind of what your steps are to get there, it's going to take you much longer to achieve them. Or maybe it'll always be on the back burner and you never actually will. So kind of knowing your priorities. I
think it's amazing. Well, I think that, like you said, everything kind of worked out. Like everything kind of fell together. Like you had this short-term lease, like a 5-year lease is very short. And so you knew that you need to do something in 5 years. Either we negotiate this thing, or I'm going to move. Like you're going to move your practice to someplace, and you had that vision in your mind, even from the get-go. You just came to fruition. You had the vision, and came true. So I think that's amazing. It's amazing growth as well.
We've experienced, I mean, just unbelievable growth for everything that was against it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and it just goes to it's the work you put in. And I have orthodontic friends and mentors that obviously have been in practice longer than me. And every year I would tell them my goals, because I'm very open with my goals. I think putting out in the universe, like what you want to accomplish, actually helps you accomplish it. Because if people don't know what you're looking for, what you want, what you're trying to get, then they can't help you. And I think if you put yourself out there, people are very willing to help. So anyways, I talked to my orthodontic friends, and each year, year one, I beat my goals, and I'm like, okay, this is my goal for year two, for, how many patients I want to see or whatever. And they're like, okay, well, that's kind of ambitious. Don't be disappointed if you don't get it. And again, I beat it. And that's just, that story happened over and over again. And so now I may be more busy than they are. And they might ask me, what are you doing? Like, how can I do this? And so if you're thinking like, I want to be bigger, or I want to be different, and you're thinking, why hasn't this happened, or why can somebody else achieve this but I can't, I would ask them and you one question: are you doing everything you can to make it happen? Because when it comes to marketing, I couldn't find enough. I mean, with all the things I want to do, because again, marketing excites me. I just really enjoy that piece. I couldn't find enough time during the week to sit down with my team and like plan, like, do we have all our posts figured out for this week? What ideas do we have? Like, what new program are we going to do? Things like that. So what we did is we got to find time. Well, when can we find time? Every single Saturday morning at 7:30 in the morning, my team comes to my house and we meet and we talk about marketing, whether that's 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours. So that's what we do. So I ask, like, are you doing everything you can to achieve your goals? If it's no, then you have to either say, am I willing to do that, or do I need to reevaluate my goals? Wow. So it's only going to go one way or the other.
No, I really like that. I thought I did a lot of marketing, but you got me beat. That is unbelievable. And so what you do with these meetings is that you get together, you guys will actually plan out your posts for the week or the month. You'll plan out your events that you'll be attending, or specialists or GPs that you'll be visiting, things like that.
Exactly. So if you kind of list all the categories or all the different areas you market, so let's say that social media, let's say that social events. For us, we actually host events, several events throughout the year. We do a charity 5K, we do a charity kayak event, and we just last week did our very first black tie dinner event. So that's another category, events that you're hosting, or maybe it's internal marketing. What are we doing inside the office that make our patients want to send their friends? I mean, that's a huge, area. So then we dive into each section and say, okay, what are we doing? How are we going to do it? Who's doing what? What are the deadlines? And then there's accountability, because every Saturday you're meeting, and then they needed to accomplish certain things throughout the week. I'm learning I need to be more clear. I'd like to be able to say, okay, get us 5,000 likes on Facebook, do whatever you have to do. I'll see you next week and tell me how it goes. That's what I'd like to do. Like, here's my goal, make it happen. Yeah. But I've learned that we just need to work together and be very clear. Okay, how are you going to do that? I don't necessarily need to tell them unless they need my help, which a lot of times they do. So we go back and forth. But being very clear, what are you going to do? When is it going to be done by? And okay, we're going to talk about those things at that meeting.
I know, I really like that. I really do. I think that's essential, especially, I mean, again, that's one of the unique things that I think specialists need to do, but GPs can learn from that. Why can't they do those outreach events? Like, because I'm sure you could market back to GPs if they were so motivated. You're organically getting patients off the street, just as much as the GPs are. I'm sure they could market back to them if they had a good relationship with you.
Oh, absolutely. And we invite our general dentist to partner with us. Like, if they're wanting to grow too, and they're wanting to do more in the community, we invite them, like, through sponsorships and involvement with our event. Be there, be the major sponsor and the dentist at that event. But here's another key piece to marketing. You can't just do one thing and expect it to start working. You have to constantly be out and about, So it's not just sponsoring one event. It's having that sponsorship every single year, and don't just have that sponsorship, be there. So if you as a general dentist has an opportunity or specialist has an opportunity to sponsor an event, have your whole team there and make sure they have your T-shirt on and then do it every year and make that the expectation, and people can expect to see you there.
When most people think about a startup, they think that they are expensive and time-consuming. I'm here today to tell you that they are right, but it doesn't have to be. Starting a dental practice presents a list of challenges, but when it comes to making decisions about where to purchase your dental equipment, I recommend Dental Planet. Dental Planet provides affordable, comprehensive services that simplify the startup, expansion, or renovation process while dramatically improving your ROI of the entire project. If you need equipment, Dental Planet has new, factory recertified, and Dental Planet certified pre-owned digital imaging systems. As you know, a lot of your success as a startup is based on your ability to provide a great experience for your patients. The same can be said about Dental Planet. They provide telephone, email, and remote support, as well as multiple financing solutions. Dental Planet is even more affordable than many of their competitors. All products include a warranty backed by a nationwide network of service providers, along with expert sales consultants and technicians. Thousands of more items, including dental supplies, are also available when you use Dental Planet. Buying equipment for your startup doesn't have to be expensive with Dental Planet. You can save between 40 to 60%. See how easy and affordable upgrading, replacing, or expanding can be when you team up with Dental Planet. Just mention shared practices to get a discount on your already low prices. Learn more at dentalplanet.com. Again, that's dentalplanet.com. Again, mention shared practices to get a discount on your entire order.
You're holding me accountable here. I'm like, oh, I can do this. You're like motivating me to like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I got to get this marketing thing down. Like, I'm not doing enough. Like, how am I going to keep up with this?
That's my life. I drive myself crazy, and but I'm glad through my craziness I can motivate other people too.
Yeah. I think that's great. So you do a startup, an ortho startup from scratch. Like, what's that look like? Like, I've never looked into practice like that from like month one. Like, how does month one look for you? Like month one in the books. Do you remember back then? Like, is it like
all right? So
60 new patients?
I do.
Or like 30 new patients. What would you say?
I had 0 patients.
Okay.
And something that I would do differently would be to market your practice before the doors are open.
Okay.
Coming soon. Schedule your appointment now. Give them discounts. Schedule your appointment now. First 100 patients get whatever, 100 off, 500 off, whatever you want to do. So I didn't do that much. I did go around like a month before and just say, hey, a new orthodontist is coming to town. And again, I dropped off flyers at the local Pizza Hut. I didn't care who it was, whether you're a worker or just a random person walking on the street. You have a family, or you may know somebody who needs my services. So I want you to know about me. But anyways, month one, I had 1 employee and me. I would answer the phones. We did everything together. We learned how to use the x-ray machine together and our practice management software. And that 1 employee was my niece. I said, it was my niece. She had no experience in like a professional setting like that.
Oh my gosh.
However, I had done some interviewing, and I interviewed some really amazing people that had great experience, great personality, but they also wanted a great salary, and I couldn't afford them at that time. And the other thing too is when you're a young person starting a practice, or especially a young female, other maybe older, more experienced people think that they need to tell you how to do things.
Yeah.
And although I love feedback, I love ideas, I didn't need to pay I didn't need an office manager at that time. It's just, there's no patients yet. I just needed somebody to answer the phones and, learn how to assist with me, kind of an all-around person.
You're not in any insurances, right? You don't need to deal with insurance, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it depends. So in orthodontics, it's kind of going towards not participating with any insurances.
Just fee for service, right?
Yeah. So what we did, we're not in network with any insurances. However, we will still we will take care of all your insurance paperwork for you. But instead of that, $1,000 orthodontic benefit check coming to our office, it went directly to you. So the contract was with me and the patient. Your braces are whatever, $5,000. You'll pay monthly payments. You'll get insurance money back to you. If you want to bring it in and pay down your account with us quicker, go ahead and bring it in. Otherwise, you can deposit it and go shopping, whatever you want to do. So yeah, that person did need to learn how to do that. And it's easy though. If you only have one patient or two patients, like it's easy to just slowly learn. But as your patients start to increase, and you'll go through this, you didn't need a system until you need a system. And so we went through a period of time where, crap, this insurance, they're not getting their checks. The patients are calling. We need a financial. Okay, guess what? We're at the point we need a financial coordinator. Our old way wasn't doing it. So then we hire a financial coordinator. They dug us a little bit out of the hole, and then you're good to go. But yeah, month one, I mean, we might get a phone call a day, and every single phone call, we would celebrate, like, yay, we have somebody on the books. So
you're looking at like
now,
first month, I mean, it's different for a GP. Like first month, you're open by like 1 day a week, like seeing patients, or less than that.
Kind of. I didn't want there to be any barrier for people to be able to schedule. Okay. So even though I was working in other offices, from day one, we were open 6 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 6, and Saturdays, 10 to 2.
Oh, wow.
They could schedule wherever they wanted to schedule. And I had my one employee there the entire time. I never wanted the phone to ring during those hours and not get answered. So if they wanted to come on the day that I was working at another office, well, you know what? We're here 8 to 6. So I will come in before I have to go to that office, just to stay true to pretty much whenever you want to come in, we're going to come in. So we kept that mentality for a really long time. And obviously now it is what it is. Our schedule's busier, but we still have this yes mentality. Like whatever you want, we're going to make it happen.
That's awesome. It starts from the top. I mean, it starts from your leadership too. So that's definitely ingrained in your culture from the get-go, and probably still permeates from the staff passing it on to the next staff. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, I like, you kind of have to do those crazy things. I mean, what you described is pretty different from a GP perspective. GP, well, maybe I think they might need a little bit more staff from the beginning, so it's hard to commit to that many days, that many hours without them being wasted in paying staff.
Well, it takes money to make money.
It does.
Yeah, you might have to pay staff to sit there. But here's the thing: if you have good communication, good leadership, and you hire decent people, then their time really won't be wasted. Because if you're a startup, and let's say you're a general office and you need two people staff, which I think if you're a startup, that would be fine. Somebody answer phones and somebody do assist. Even if you only have one patient come in that day, it's not a waste if you can think, if you guys together can come up with a plan when we're not with patients, when we're not answering the phone, this is what we're doing. And that really should focus on marketing and building relationships, like one person go and make cookie deliveries to the local businesses, mm-hmm. or something like that, Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, okay. I'm wrong.
No, you're not. I'm just giving you a different way to think about it.
I know. Yeah. But I love it, Nicole. I mean, I think that is awesome. So, going into month 2, so I feel in ortho, it just steamrolls, like 1 month and then the next month, and you eventually start building and building and building. Like, when would you say you were able to pay yourself?
Gosh, honestly, that's an interesting question, and I've never thought about it, because I still don't know if I pay myself, to be honest. Like, money's so almost weird to me, because we make a lot of money, and we spend a lot of money.
You put it back into practice, back into marketing, back in the community.
Totally. Yeah. I don't know when I started paying myself. I mean, technically, you have to W-2 yourself when you start, because you have to. Okay, so here's the thing: you have to pay taxes. Okay, whether you make a tiny, tiny bit of money or a lot of money. So, in order to, I think I made this mistake. And again, like, I don't like numbers and accounting and things like that, but I didn't really pay myself much. I think I paid myself. I W-2'd myself through my payroll company, right? So one check was going to my staff member, one check was coming to me, but it might have been, $100 every 2 weeks or whatever. Well, I kept that like the whole first year. And by the end of the year, my accountant's like, oh, you owe a lot of money. So I had to write a big check, to pay the taxes. Mm-hmm. So they said, you have to increase your paycheck through your, payroll company. So that way there's more taxes coming out consistently and you're not stuck with this big tax check at the end of the year. So I guess in some ways I always paid myself, and in other ways I didn't pay myself very much, But I would recommend that if you're a startup, you set yourself up. Well, two things: set yourself up on, a W-2. So a little bit of taxes are coming out. Start small, and then have communication with your accountant, like, based on how I'm doing and how much taxes I'm going to have to pay at the end of the year, should I up my salary, my bi-weekly paycheck or whatever it is. The other thing I would recommend doing right away is an automatic, like, retirement savings. So I set up a simple IRA, and it was automatic. I didn't want to have to do any work, and I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to think, do I have enough money or not? I just wanted it to automatically go in the savings. So, and it was as small as $100 every month just to start it. That way all the paperwork and that was done. And then once I start making, doing better, increasing my business, things like that, then I can increase the amount very simply.
Gotcha. That's great advice. And a simple IRA, you don't need to commit that to staff. That's just you personally, not mistaken.
Exactly. Exactly. Like which is why it makes sense in the beginning to do it that way. Since then, we now have a program for the whole office where once you're there a year, they can, save into, and then I match up to 3%.
Okay. Like a 401k plan?
It isn't a 401k because the fees for 401k are higher. And again, I'm very basic on this stuff. Sure. So it's another form of IRA. It actually might be a simple IRA for them too. But the other thing is I don't have a ton of money that I want to filter into retirement right now because I'm working on this development project. Of course. So the simple IRA was simpler and less expensive. So I said, this makes sense for now. We can transition into a 401k anytime.
Yeah. Well, you were always growing. Like these benefits you didn't have day one, but now you do, and I think your staff are seeing that, when you're interviewing for staff, and you're presenting yourself as a startup, they have to almost sacrifice. They want to be in it from the beginning to grow with you and experience it, but can't offer some of these other benefits that maybe a corporation can offer. But eventually, as you grow, you're sharing the fruits of your shared labor, and I think that's amazing that you're doing that. You're giving back to your staff like that.
That's absolutely right. And my focus has only recently changed to, okay, my business is doing really well. I need to really focus on staff. And okay, what are the problems? What are the solutions? Well, I want my staff to be with me forever because they're stinking amazing. I love every single one of my team, and I want them to retire with me. So that's the problem. What are my solution ideas? More incentives. As the practice grows, I want to be able to pay them more. So what does that look like? Retirement savings, more learning opportunities. So starting this year, I'm sending them on as many CE as I can. Yes, it's a big expense, travel, hotel, things like that. But they're going to learn. It's, so they're really excited about that.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, yeah, it's awesome. I'm sure it's it's still fun, in your startup stage, it's, I'm figuring this out. It's kind of fun to kind of put the puzzle together, and that there's still pieces there that you're discovering that you're, that keep your mind active and always have. And if you have that growth mentality, you're kind of there's always gonna be challenges that after you solve the first one, there's always gonna be a next one. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, I get bored easy. So if you're feeling you're not excited, which happens to me all the time, I come up with something else and then refocus my mind and make, have a goal that's exciting to you.
I like that a lot. And so just the gist of your space now, how many, you have 8 operatories or 6 operatories? Or chairs? I guess you have chairs, right?
My space right now. So we don't have like the separated operatories like general dentistry typically does. It's open bay. We have 3 chairs. So it's very small, 3 chairs and 1 treatment coordinator room, for our new patient exams. And that's about it.
You have 3 chairs.
So like I said,
Okay.
So we're really doing the volume of a 6-chair clinic though.
Really?
Yeah, and I have the staff for like 6 chairs.
They're moving,
because we have the patients that need to fill 6 chairs, but we only have 3. So we're very creative in how we can get people in. And
yeah, you're busting at the seams. And I'm sure you can't wait for this new development. So how many chairs anticipate in the new space that you're moving into?
We're going to go to 7 clinic chairs and 2 exam rooms.
Are you doing any kind of theme that you wanted, or are you going to keep I know your practice has more of like you said it was a converted business of like the exposed brick and more that kind of look. Are you going for a theme?
We totally renovated that space. So our office has a very home feeling. Like you sit in the waiting room and it feels like a living room.
Good.
And it's a little bit rustic, not too rustic. So the new office will be similar to that. No, you're good. So it's going to be a similar feel because that's just, it's my style. We won't have any crazy thing, like fun theme or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think it's going to be, that's going to be amazing. Like I'm actually really excited to see, what that looks like. And do you already have?
I will post pictures on Facebook.
For sure. And so you'll be are you going to be the entire ground floor? Are you going to take the second floor? What's your plan there?
Well, I originally wanted to be on the first floor, like right on the corner of Bridge and Broad Street.
Okay.
But I'm trying to attract a restaurant. So I'm building space for a restaurant in there. And, people have kind of informed me, well, a restaurant is going to want the first floor corner. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll move to the second floor right on the corner, which actually I'm very excited about because we have lots of windows. It's pretty much wall-to-wall windows. So we'll have a really nice view of downtown and what's going on outside. So, yeah.
Well, I think that's great because you're reinvesting. Like there's a burned down lot that nobody's developed on, and now there's you're reinvesting in the development in the community that's supporting your business. And definitely you're going to be a staple in that community because you're doing that. Mm-hmm. I think that's so awesome. That's so awesome. I love that. Like, I feel like you kind of get that small community feel up north, and you do down here in the south, and I do. I'm kind of picture like what you're describing. And I think that is just amazing, and you're doing it the right way. I really do. I think you're doing it the right way, and you're would you say there's any mentors, just like close colleagues? Is that where you get your guidance from, or is it just you sitting with your team thinking of what do I do next? Do you ever work with a consultant or anything like that?
More recently, we've started to bring in consultants. One area I'm not good at is like protocols and structure and organization. Like that is not my strong suit. So when I bring in consultants, I'm really having them help me with like the systems of the practice. But as far as mentorship, when I first came out, I didn't really know anyone. I didn't know anyone in the field other than the people I'd graduated from. But again, just being really open with my, what are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish? Not being scared to ask questions. I have made a lot of friends in my community and in the, this career, that, you can just ask them. I mean, I sit down for lunch with other business owners outside of orthodontics, and we just talk business, and they have a different perspective. So, not being scared to ask questions of, of people, or even if they're not in your field, I think that's important. And then I also do think when you asked about consultants, I think that's very important. Once you get to a point, I do not think you need a consultant in the beginning. They're expensive and there's so much to figure out. I think you should hone in as best you can and then bring the more expensive consultant in to fine tune everything going on around you. And so that they don't have to waste time on the basic stuff. But I think that's important. Always be learning, bringing in people that are smarter than you, because it doesn't matter how well you're doing. There is going to be somebody, even if there's even another office that isn't, producing as much as you, they're going to be doing things that you're like, dang, I like that. I want to adopt that in my practice.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I like that. I think, Nicole, you dropped a lot of great information here. You may not be able to touch on everything you may want to talk about, but I think that, I'm even coming away from this going, oh my gosh, like this is some good stuff. Like I need to, making that committed effort towards marketing would help any practice out there. And then you also talked about speaking to other business owners. You're moving into another business world by being a developer, by being, owning a building and leasing out to other businesses. That's another world out there. But, again, you figured it out, organically on your own and have just been open to receiving that feedback and making yourself greater as an owner and as a orthodontist too. So I think that's amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. I really appreciate your time. Do you have anywhere that somebody wanted to reach out to you? I think you also touched on being like a female owner. I think that there are inherent challenges with being a female owner. Again, and I think we're going to see it more and more. As we saw, in our school, classes are becoming. There's more females in dental school than there are males these days. That's the way it's trending. More and more of these motivated female owners, and I think it's awesome. But there's always going to be those challenges. Leadership. There's always that weird that dynamic, the female dynamic that I don't have any part of that you guys would be exposed to. You seem to take it and run with it. So if there's somebody out there that wants to reach you and maybe seek you as a mentor, like how would they contact you if you want to be contacted?
Yeah, I'm happy for people to reach out if they have any questions. My email is probably best, and it's drwax@waxortho.com. So that's drwax@waxortho.com. But one thing about the woman thing, I think there maybe there's challenges being a woman orthodontist or a woman dentist, but I don't think you necessarily have more challenges than anyone else because we're all different people. We all have different personalities. We all stress about different things. And I think if you feel like being a woman is one of your challenges, that just goes on your problem list, just like everything else. And then you find a way to overcome it. So I would really challenge
I think
anyone
you're right.
listening.
You're 100% right. I think it's a challenge. I guess I shouldn't say that then because my perspective is probably wrong in that, but your mindset is completely right. Yeah.
I said that too. I'm in different women in orthodontic groups or women groups. That's just my perspective. I think that some women may feel that, some may not, but some men feel like they have challenges and some don't. So it's just whatever you feel like your challenges are, whether gender related or not, like we can overcome them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I like your methodology, making your list and making a list of problems. And then I don't think there's any problem that is put in front of you that you can solve by your mentality.
Nope.
So I think that's awesome. But once again, Nicole, I really appreciate your time and I look forward to following your success because I know it's going to follow you.
Well, thanks, Jonas, and thanks for asking me.
Not a problem at all.
Apparently,
not a problem.
when I get on this topic, I can just go. So
yeah. I feel the same way too. I love it. But definitely got some things here on my list that I need to get started with, and I think you put some on some other people's list too. So
well, I'm happy to be able to help.
Yeah, not a problem. All right. Well, look forward to staying in touch, and I'll be following you, and look forward to talking to you soon. Okay.
Yes. Good luck in your practice too. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Jonas. So we just recorded the intro. And, we record intro then outro. So Jonas couldn't stop talking about her. I said, okay, Jonas, hold up. Let's talk about her on air. So, Jonas, what are your thoughts from your interview with Nicole?
I'm just saying it was super motivating. I mean, the fact that she gets together every Saturday with her marketing team, the game plan, her social media posts, the game plan, her grassroots, ground marketing that she does in the local community is just awesome. I mean, I don't know anybody who does this kind of stuff, and she just does it, and she takes it to another level that you think you're done, and she goes to the next step. And so I was motivated. I feel like I do a lot of marketing, and I have I get the word out there, but she kills me. She blows me out of water.
So what kind of things does she do that maybe fired you up to do more?
I mean, she takes it from being part of all aspects of the community, like being a part of the local businesses, being a part of local charities, the schools, parents, friends and neighbors. I mean, she really just gets her names out there, and she does it personally too. She doesn't just she doesn't mail it in. She goes there, shows up in person, and really puts the effort in. And I think that makes all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah, I think that's one of those time versus effort. The effect that has is so much more than mailing it in, but that also requires so much more time on her end. And the fact that she's willing to do that, I guess, shows you how motivated and fired up she is about getting her word out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like the example would be, not only just joining your local small business bureau or small business chamber of commerce, but actually being the vice president or president of that, and going to these meet and greets herself rather than hiring her staff to table them in her stead. She's there, her face is there, her name is on their shirts, and she's there with them. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to who you are as a person and your personality a little bit. I'm not necessarily that kind of guy that's going to go do that, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's just who you are. But I think if you're willing to do that, I think this episode shows you the effects can be huge.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, why not? You might spend like 5% of your total budget on marketing, and that might be digital or like postcard marketing. Why not take that, hire a couple staff members, and have them out, pounding the pavement, getting people in the door. I mean, there's different ways of doing it, and hers she does very successfully.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show, how much more cost efficient that strategy can be if done well. Mm-hmm. And it's very, very impressive. And so I really enjoyed the interview. I appreciate, Jonas, you finding her and doing this interview. I think our audience got a lot out of it. And so I'll see you guys next week on the Shared Practices podcast.